The next 2 minutes could change your love story forever. My beloved child, listen carefully, don't skip this message, because the next 2 minutes could change the way you look at your love story forever. Something you have been waiting for may finally be moving closer, but the biggest surprise is that you may not recognize it when it first appears. It may begin with something small. A message, a name appearing on your screen, an unexpected conversation, a memory suddenly returning, or a person finally finding the courage to say what they have been hiding. Stay until the end, because the final part of this message may help you understand why your love story has taken so many unexpected turns. Take a deep breath and think about the person who immediately came to your mind when you heard the word love. Don't force it. Don't search for an answer. Just notice who appeared naturally in your thoughts. Maybe it is someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Maybe it is someone you are currently connected with but whose feelings remain unclear. Maybe there is someone whose name still creates a strange feeling in your heart, even though you have tried to move forward. Whatever the situation, this moment is not about guaranteeing what another person will do. It is about recognizing that your love story can change the moment you stop repeating the same emotional patterns. Maybe you've been waiting for a message that never arrived. You've checked your phone more times than you want to admit. You've wondered whether they still think about you. You've replayed conversations in your mind, analyzing every word, every pause, every moment when their behavior seemed different. You may have asked yourself, do they miss me? Did they ever really care? Why did they pull away? Will they ever come back? And perhaps the hardest question has been, should I keep hoping, or should I finally let go? But what if the next 2 minutes are not about someone magically appearing? What if they are about you realizing something that changes the entire way you approach love? Sometimes the biggest turning point isn't a message from another person. Sometimes it's the moment you stop waiting for one. Because when you stop placing your happiness in someone else's hands, you become free to see what is actually happening around you. You stop chasing signs. You stop interpreting every silence. You stop turning every small interaction into evidence of a future. You begin observing reality. And reality tells you something important. People who genuinely want to be part of your life eventually have to participate in your life. They have to communicate. They have to show up. They have to make an effort. They have to take responsibility for their choices. Love cannot survive forever on hidden feelings. At some point, feelings have to become actions. Maybe the person you love has been struggling with that exact truth. Maybe they care about you but have been afraid. Maybe they don't know how to approach you after everything that happened. Maybe they are worried you've moved on. Maybe they regret something they said. Maybe they know they hurt you and don't know how to repair it. Maybe they have been waiting for the perfect opportunity to reach out. But there is no perfect opportunity. There is only the courage to begin. Perhaps the next 2 minutes represent that moment symbolically, the moment when you stop living in anticipation and start living in truth. Imagine receiving a message from them. Your heart immediately beats faster. You stare at the screen. You wonder whether you should answer. You read it again. Maybe it says, "Can we talk?" Maybe it says, "I've been thinking about you." Maybe it says, "I owe you an explanation." Maybe it's something completely ordinary that secretly carries enormous emotional weight. But before you respond, pause. Don't answer from fear. Don't answer from excitement alone. Ask yourself what you actually want. Do you want closure? Do you want another chance? Do you want an honest conversation? Do you want to understand what happened? Do you want to see whether they have changed? Your answer matters. Because your love story isn't only about whether someone comes back. It's also about what happens when they do. A reunion can feel incredible for one night and still become painful again if nothing has changed. That's why you need more than emotion. You need clarity. Maybe this person will finally tell you something they've never admitted. Perhaps they were more hurt than they showed. Perhaps they were afraid of becoming attached. Perhaps they felt unworthy of you. Perhaps they allowed other people's opinions to influence their decisions. Perhaps they thought walking away would protect them from getting hurt. And maybe now they realize that avoiding love didn't eliminate the pain. It simply created another kind of pain, the pain of wondering what could have been. But don't romanticize avoidance. Fear can explain someone's behavior, but it doesn't automatically excuse it. If someone wants another chance with you, they need to acknowledge what happened. They need to understand how their actions affected you. They need to be willing to change the pattern. They need to communicate differently. And you have every right to take your time. Maybe the next 2 minutes could change your love story because you finally decide that you will no longer accept confusion as a substitute for commitment. Maybe you finally say, "I care about you, but I need consistency." Maybe you finally say, "I forgive you, but I need to see change." Maybe you finally say, "I love you, but I won't abandon myself to keep this relationship alive." Those words could change everything. Because love becomes healthier when both people stop trying to win and start trying to understand. Maybe your soulmate is also reaching that point. Maybe something happened recently that made them reconsider everything. Maybe they heard your name. Maybe they saw something that reminded them of you. Maybe they went through a difficult moment and realized how much they missed having someone who understood them. Maybe they finally recognized the difference between temporary attention and genuine connection. And perhaps they are beginning to understand that you were never asking them to be perfect. You were asking them to be honest. You wanted communication. You wanted respect. You wanted to feel chosen rather than constantly questioned. You wanted someone who could stay when things became difficult. Maybe that's what they are finally learning. But here's something even more important. Don't make your life pause while they learn. Continue moving. Continue growing. Continue creating. Continue becoming stronger. If they catch up, let them catch up. If they reach out, listen. If they don't, keep walking. Because your future cannot be held hostage by another person's hesitation. You are allowed to love someone and still move forward. You are allowed to hope and still protect yourself. You are allowed to miss someone and still choose peace. You are allowed to believe in love without believing that one specific person is the only person capable of loving you. That is freedom. And perhaps freedom is exactly what your love story needs. Maybe the person you love is watching from a distance, wondering whether you've changed. Maybe they notice that you aren't chasing anymore. Maybe they expected you to always be available. Maybe your silence finally made them realize that you have a life beyond them. And that realization can create a very different kind of respect. They may understand that if they want you, they can't simply assume you'll wait forever. They have to step forward. They have to risk hearing an answer they may not like. They have to show you that they are serious. And perhaps that's the unexpected move you've been waiting for. Not a dramatic declaration. A genuine effort. A consistent presence. A willingness to have the conversation they once avoided. Maybe the first sign won't even come from them. Maybe it will come from you. Maybe you'll wake up one morning and realize you don't feel the same anxiety anymore. Maybe you'll look at their name and feel calm instead of desperate. Maybe you'll realize you can love someone without needing to know what they are doing every second. Maybe you'll finally understand that your worth isn't determined by whether someone chooses you. That internal shift can be more powerful than any message. Because when you stop begging life to give you one specific outcome, you become available for the outcome that actually serves you. Perhaps that's why these next 2 minutes matter. Not because a magical countdown is controlling your future. But because a few minutes can be enough to make a decision. A decision to stop chasing. A decision to communicate honestly. A decision to forgive. A decision to walk away. A decision to give someone another chance. A decision to choose yourself. One decision can redirect an entire relationship. Think about how many love stories changed because someone finally said one sentence. I love you. I miss you. I'm sorry. Let's try again. I can't do this anymore. I choose you. I choose myself. A few words can close a chapter. A few words can open one. That's why your voice matters. If you have something important to say, don't hide forever. If someone deserves an honest conversation, have it when it is safe and appropriate. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, don't confuse silence with patience. If someone consistently shows up for you, don't be afraid to acknowledge it. Love needs courage from both sides. And perhaps the person you're thinking about is gathering that courage now. Maybe they've been fighting themselves. One side says, reach out. The other says, stay away. One side remembers the good. The other remembers the pain. One side wants another chance. The other fears rejection. That internal battle can continue for a long time. But eventually, a person has to decide. And if they choose to come toward you, let them come with intention. Don't settle for breadcrumbs. Don't confuse a late-night message with commitment. Don't confuse jealousy with love. Don't confuse physical attraction with emotional readiness. Look for the deeper signs. Consistency. Respect. Accountability. Communication. Effort. Those are the things that create a relationship capable of surviving beyond the exciting beginning. Maybe that's the real change waiting for you. A change from uncertainty to clarity. From chasing to choosing. From anxiety to peace. From fantasy to reality. From hoping someone will change to observing whether they actually have. And perhaps when you make that shift, your love story becomes completely different. You stop asking, "How do I make them love me?" and start asking, "Does this relationship give both of us the space to love honestly?" That's a much healthier question. Maybe the answer will be yes. Maybe it will be no. Either way, you gain something priceless: truth. And truth is better than endless guessing. So if your phone rings after this message, don't panic. If you receive a message, breathe. If someone from your past appears, don't immediately assume it means forever. Listen. Observe. Ask. Let reality unfold. And if someone new enters your life, don't reject them simply because they don't fit the story you imagined. Sometimes the future doesn't look like the past. Sometimes the person who finally brings peace isn't the person who created the deepest chaos. Sometimes the greatest love story begins after you stop chasing the one you thought you couldn't live without. And maybe that's why your next chapter is still unwritten. Because you haven't met every person who will matter to you yet. You haven't experienced every conversation that will change you. You haven't seen every version of yourself that you will become. Your story is still moving. So don't let one painful chapter convince you that the whole book is tragic. It isn't. There are pages ahead. There are conversations ahead. There are mornings you haven't lived yet. There are people you haven't met. There are moments that will make you laugh unexpectedly. There are relationships that may teach you what safe love actually feels like. And there may even be a person from your past who grows enough to meet you differently. But don't force the outcome. Let life reveal it. If your soulmate returns, let them return with maturity. If they stay away, let their absence teach you something without destroying your hope. And if someone new arrives, allow yourself to be surprised. You don't have to decide today how your entire love story ends. You only need to decide how you will treat yourself today. Will you chase confusion? Or choose clarity? Will you accept crumbs? Or wait for consistency? Will you keep comparing yourself to others? Or recognize your own value? Will you remain trapped in the past? Or allow the future to introduce itself? Those choices matter. And perhaps in the next 2 minutes, you will make one of them. Maybe you'll put your phone down. Maybe you'll stop checking. Maybe you'll take a deep breath and say, "I release what I cannot control. I choose peace over obsession. I choose honesty over guessing. I choose love that respects me. I choose myself." And maybe that will be the moment everything changes. Not because the universe suddenly rewrites your entire life. But because you finally stop fighting yourself. And when you stop fighting yourself, you become capable of seeing love clearly. You can recognize the difference between someone who wants access to you and someone who genuinely wants to know you. You can recognize the difference between chemistry and compatibility. You can recognize the difference between an apology and actual change. You can recognize the difference between someone who misses you and someone who is ready to build with you. That wisdom will protect your heart. And if your soulmate truly is approaching, you'll be able to meet them from a place of strength. You won't need to cling. You won't need to prove. You won't need to beg. You'll simply ask, are we both willing to do this differently? If the answer is yes, take it slowly. If the answer is no, accept the truth. Either way, you win because you're no longer abandoning yourself for love. And perhaps that's the greatest transformation of all. Maybe the next 2 minutes won't bring a message. Maybe they won't bring a phone call. Maybe nothing visible will happen at all. And that's okay. Because the most important change can happen inside you. You can decide that your future will not be determined by someone else's silence. You can decide that your happiness is not waiting in someone else's hands. You can decide that you will remain open to love while remaining loyal to yourself. And from that place, everything becomes clearer. Maybe the person you're thinking about will eventually return. Maybe they'll finally tell you the truth. Maybe they'll ask for another chance. Maybe they'll show you that they've grown. But when that moment arrives, you won't be the same person who waited desperately. You'll be the person who knows their worth. You'll be the person who can say yes without fear and no without guilt. You'll be the person who understands that love should add to your life, not consume it. So, my beloved child, the next 2 minutes could change your love story, but perhaps not in the way you expected. Maybe the real change is that you stop waiting for someone to save the story and realize that you have the power to write the next chapter yourself. You can choose the conversation. You can choose the boundary. You can choose the forgiveness. You can choose the goodbye. You can choose the new beginning. And if another heart chooses you too, let that choice be supported by action. Because the love you deserve isn't just exciting. It's safe. It isn't just passionate. It's respectful. It isn't just full of promises. It's full of follow-through. It doesn't make you constantly wonder. It gives you reasons to trust. And perhaps that is what is waiting for you. Maybe with the person you're thinking about. Maybe with someone you haven't met yet. But either way, don't be afraid of the future. The future is not here to punish you for what happened in the past. It's here to give you another chance to choose differently. So when this message ends, don't immediately check your phone. Close your eyes for a moment. Take one deep breath. And say, I trust that what is meant to stay will meet me with honesty, effort, and peace. I release what is not for me, and I welcome what is. Then open your eyes. Step back into your life. Smile. Keep moving. And if your soulmate is truly ready to make a move, let them find you living, not waiting. Let them find you growing, not begging. Let them find you peaceful, not desperate. Let them find you whole. And when they finally step forward, may you recognize the difference between someone who simply misses you and someone who is finally ready to love you properly. Because perhaps the next 2 minutes were never about a countdown. They were about a choice. A choice to stop chasing. A choice to stop doubting. A choice to stop settling. A choice to believe that love can be beautiful without being painful. And maybe, just maybe, that choice will become the turning point you have been waiting for. So remember this final truth. Your love story does not change when someone finally chooses you. It changes when you realize that you are worthy of choosing yourself first. And from that moment forward, whoever walks into your life must meet you there, not below your worth, not above your dignity, but beside you. No chasing. No begging. No endless guessing. Just two people choosing each other with open hearts, clear intentions, and honest actions. Maybe that's what the next chapter holds. Maybe it's closer than you think. But whatever happens, keep moving forward. Because the most beautiful part of your story may not be behind you. It may be the page you are about to turn. My beloved child, listen carefully. This is the moment where everything you've been feeling finally comes together. Maybe you came here wondering whether someone is thinking about you, whether your soulmate still remembers you, or whether the love story you once believed in has quietly disappeared. But before you leave this message, understand this: your story is not defined by one unanswered message, one painful goodbye, or one season of silence. Sometimes the chapter that feels like an ending is simply the chapter where both people are being prepared to understand what they truly want. Perhaps somewhere tonight, the person you love is also thinking about the past. They may remember the sound of your voice, the way you laughed, the conversations that lasted longer than expected, and the moments that seemed ordinary at the time but became precious later. Maybe they remember the things they said that they wish they could take back. Maybe they remember the moments when you needed them and they weren't there. And perhaps the hardest realization has been understanding that losing your presence made them recognize its value. But here's what matters now: don't spend your life waiting for someone to discover what you already know about yourself. You are worthy of love whether someone texts you tonight or never texts you again. You are worthy whether someone chooses you immediately or needs years to understand what they lost. Your value does not rise when someone comes closer, and it does not disappear when someone walks away. Maybe the next message will arrive. Maybe a familiar name will suddenly appear on your screen. Maybe someone will finally say, "Can we talk?" And if that happens, breathe before you answer. Don't let excitement make decisions that your wisdom should make. Listen carefully. Ask what has changed. Ask what they want. Ask whether they are ready to build something different from what existed before. Because a second chance should not simply recreate the first chapter. It should create a better one. If someone returns with the same behavior, the same excuses, the same inconsistency, and the same confusion, then returning isn't the miracle. Change is the miracle. Growth is the miracle. Accountability is the miracle. Two people becoming healthier versions of themselves and then choosing each other again, that is something worth celebrating. Maybe your soulmate is going through that transformation right now. Maybe they are learning that love cannot survive on feelings alone. Feelings are important, but relationships need communication. They need patience. They need honesty. They need effort. They need two people who are willing to stay present when conversations become uncomfortable. And perhaps you are learning the same lesson. Maybe you've spent too much time asking, will they come back? Perhaps the better question is, if they come back, will this relationship finally give me the peace I deserve? That question changes everything. Because you don't need someone who simply misses you. You need someone who knows how to treat you. You don't need someone who becomes emotional when you're gone. You need someone who appreciates you when you're present. You don't need someone who promises forever during one emotional night. You need someone whose ordinary actions repeatedly show that they mean what they say. And if that person is your soulmate, let them prove it through reality. Let them show up. Let them communicate. Let them apologize when they're wrong. Let them listen when you're hurt. Let them respect your boundaries. Let them celebrate your happiness. Let them choose you without making you beg for the choice. That's the kind of love that can survive beyond the excitement of a reunion. Maybe the next 2 minutes didn't change your love story in the dramatic way you expected. Maybe no phone rang. Maybe no message arrived. Maybe there was no sudden confession. And yet something important may have changed. You. Maybe you finally realized that waiting doesn't mean standing still. You can love someone and continue living. You can miss someone and still smile. You can hope for reconciliation and still protect your heart. You can believe in love without abandoning yourself. That is strength. And perhaps the person you love will eventually recognize that strength. They may realize that you aren't the same person who once waited endlessly for their attention. You've grown. You've learned. You've become more confident in what you deserve. And when they see that, they may finally understand why losing you felt different. You were never simply another person. You were someone who brought out a part of them they hadn't understood before. Someone who made them question their habits. Someone who made them think about the future. Someone who showed them what emotional connection could feel like. But remember, being important to someone does not mean you must accept everything from them. Love and boundaries can exist together. Forgiveness and self-respect can exist together. Hope and wisdom can exist together. You don't have to choose between having a heart and protecting it. You can do both. So if your soulmate is coming back, let them come back with honesty. If they are reaching out, let them speak. If they are apologizing, let them explain. If they are asking for another chance, let their actions demonstrate whether they deserve it. And if they aren't coming back, don't interpret that as proof that you weren't enough. Sometimes people leave because they aren't ready. Sometimes people leave because they don't know how to love properly. Sometimes people leave because the relationship has reached its natural end. And sometimes their absence creates space for something healthier to enter your life. Whatever the reason, your future is not finished. Your heart is not finished. Your story is not finished. There are still conversations you haven't had. There are still places you haven't seen. There are still people you haven't met. There are still versions of yourself waiting to emerge. So don't let one person become the entire definition of your future. Let love be a beautiful part of your life, not the only reason your life has meaning. And perhaps that is the secret hidden inside this entire message. The next chapter begins when you stop asking someone else to give you permission to live. You don't need permission. Go forward. Dream again. Laugh again. Trust again, carefully. Open your heart again, wisely. And if love finds you, don't run from it because of what happened before. The past can teach you without controlling you. Maybe one day you'll meet the person you have been waiting for and realize that the relationship feels completely different. No anxiety. No games. No constant guessing. No fear that one wrong sentence will make them disappear. Just two people communicating. Two people laughing. Two people supporting each other. Two people choosing each other repeatedly. And maybe you'll finally understand why the previous chapters had to end the way they did. Not because you were being punished, but because you were learning what you would no longer accept. Maybe the heartbreak taught you boundaries. Maybe the silence taught you patience. Maybe the rejection taught you self-respect. Maybe the waiting taught you that love should never require you to lose yourself. And now you're ready for something different. Something calmer. Something deeper. Something real. So, my beloved child, when this message ends, don't immediately ask, what happens next? Instead ask, what do I want my next chapter to feel like? Do you want peace? Choose peace. Do you want honesty? Choose honesty. Do you want commitment? Refuse to settle for confusion. Do you want respect? Give yourself enough respect to walk away from anything that repeatedly destroys your peace. Do you want love? Become willing to receive healthy love instead of chasing unavailable love. And if the person you're thinking about is truly meant to remain in your life, they will eventually have to meet you at that level. Not because some countdown forced them. Not because you chased them. Not because you begged. But because they made a conscious decision. And that decision will mean something. Maybe the next time you hear from them, everything will feel different. Maybe their words will carry more maturity. Maybe their apology will feel sincere. Maybe their eyes will reveal what their mouth once couldn't say. Maybe they'll tell you, I was scared. I didn't know how to handle my feelings. I thought I could move on. I tried. But I couldn't forget you. And maybe you'll listen. Maybe you'll cry. Maybe you'll smile. But then you'll ask the most important question, what are you willing to do now? Because the past explains where you've been. Actions determine where you go next. And if they are ready to build, perhaps you'll build. If they are ready to communicate, perhaps you'll listen. If they are ready to love responsibly, perhaps you'll open the door slowly. But never forget that you hold the key too. You are not powerless in your own story. You are not simply waiting for someone else's decision. You are one of the authors. And that is why the next 2 minutes can matter, not because time itself has magical power, but because a few minutes can contain a realization powerful enough to change your next decision. Maybe tonight you decide to stop checking their social media. Maybe you decide to stop rereading old messages. Maybe you decide to forgive yourself. Maybe you decide to finally send the honest message you've been afraid to send. Maybe you decide not to send it because you've realized you've already done enough. Maybe you decide to open your heart to someone new. Maybe you simply decide to sleep peacefully without wondering what tomorrow will bring. Any of those choices can be a turning point. And perhaps tomorrow morning you'll wake up with a different feeling. Not desperate. Not afraid. Just calm. And maybe that calmness will be the first sign that you're finally ready for the kind of love that doesn't make you question your worth. So don't fear what happens after these 2 minutes. Let it happen. Let life surprise you. Let people reveal themselves. Let truth come forward. Let the wrong things fall away. Let the right things grow naturally. And above everything else, don't abandon yourself while waiting for someone else. Because if your soulmate comes back, you want them to meet the strongest, healthiest, most authentic version of you. And if they don't, you still have a beautiful life to live. Either way, you win by choosing yourself. Maybe that's the twist you never expected. You thought the miracle would be someone coming back. But perhaps the miracle is realizing you don't need anyone to come back before you can move forward. And once you understand that, love becomes less frightening. Because you're no longer saying, "Please choose me." You're saying, "If we choose each other, let's choose each other honestly." That's a completely different kind of love. A mature love. A peaceful love. A love where two people aren't trying to fill empty spaces inside each other. They're simply choosing to share the lives they've already built. So if someone is thinking about you tonight, let them think. If someone misses you, let them miss you. If someone wants to return, let them take the step. If someone loves you, let them show you. You don't have to chase what is capable of finding you. And if someone doesn't come, don't spend your life standing at a closed door. There are other doors. There are other paths. There are other chapters. There is still so much life waiting for you. Maybe your greatest love story hasn't happened yet. Maybe it has already begun. Maybe it is being rebuilt. You don't know. And that's okay. You don't need to know everything today. You only need to keep moving forward. So take one final breath. Put your hand over your heart. And tell yourself, I deserve a love that is honest. I deserve a love that is consistent. I deserve a love that respects me. I deserve a love that doesn't make me beg. I deserve a love that brings peace. Then release the rest. Release the person you cannot control. Release the future you cannot predict. Release the fear that you missed your chance. You haven't missed your chance at love. Your story is still being written. And perhaps the next page will surprise you. Maybe it begins with a message. Maybe a conversation. Maybe an apology. Maybe a new person. Maybe a completely unexpected opportunity. But whatever comes next, walk toward it with your head held high. Because you are no longer the person who needs someone else's attention to feel valuable. You know your worth now. And that changes everything. So, my beloved child, remember this final truth: the next 2 minutes may not magically change your love story. But the decision you make within those 2 minutes can change the person who lives that story. And when you change, your choices change. When your choices change, your relationships change. And when your relationships change, your entire future can begin to look different. Maybe your soulmate will return. Maybe someone better will arrive. Maybe the person you've been waiting for will finally become ready. Whatever happens, don't chase. Don't beg. Don't settle. Don't lose yourself. Stand in your worth. Let love meet you there. And if someone reaches for your hand, make sure they are ready to hold it, not just for one beautiful moment, but through the ordinary days that follow. Because the greatest love story isn't the one that begins with fireworks. It's the one that survives after the fireworks disappear. It's two people still choosing each other when the day is difficult. Still communicating when emotions are high. Still laughing when life becomes stressful. Still holding hands when nobody is watching. Still saying, "I'm here," when everything feels uncertain. That is the love worth waiting for. And perhaps, someday, you'll look back at the moment when you thought everything was falling apart and realize it was actually the moment your life began moving in a completely different direction. So don't fear the next chapter. Turn the page. Your story isn't over. The best part may still be unwritten. And when the right person finally stands beside you, may you never again have to wonder whether you are loved. May their actions answer the question before you even have to ask. May their presence bring peace instead of confusion. May their words match their actions. And may you look into their eyes one day and realize, I didn't have to chase this love. I didn't have to beg for it. I didn't have to become someone else for it. It found me when I finally learned how to choose myself. That is where this chapter ends. But your story? Your story continues. And perhaps the next page you turn will be the one you've been waiting for all along.